saying that everything that happens in a business that's based off of pretend that seems like a setup is.
Clive Davis has passed away, and Whitney Houston's fans are saying about time.
Clive Davis has passed away at the age of 94. I woke up shocked this morning because this man has single-handedly outlived majority of the artists he was connected to.
That reaction may sound harsh, but many people who followed Clive's history with Whitney understand why some fans feel that way. Clive helped discover and guide some of the biggest music stars ever. At the same time, critics have raised serious questions about how he handled certain artists and their careers.
Leola Brown, Bobby Brown's sister, has said on several occasions that she was beaten. They saw her body. She didn't just die in a tub like...
Clive had a strong eye and ear for talent. He also faced years of accusations and controversy, including claims about artist finances and other serious allegations that have never been proven. Whitney Houston became one of the biggest names connected to him. Clive lived to 94, while Whitney's life ended at just 48. The official findings about her death have continued to spark debate, and some fans still believe there is more to the story, even though there is no verified evidence supporting claims that anyone intentionally caused her death.
Contrary to the coroner's conclusion that her death was accidental, Hubel claims that Houston's body shows classic defense wounds consistent with someone fighting for her life.
Katt Williams has said that when something in the entertainment industry looks like a setup, people often start asking bigger questions. After someone as famous as Whitney passes away, many believe powerful people behind the scenes can still benefit from the attention and renewed interest surrounding that artist.
It's only the artist that's losing. Somebody makes big money. When these rappers get killed, not incidental. Somebody made $100 million and now don't have to talk to that artist or none of their crew, don't have to validate none of their contracts. Now only got to deal with the mama, only got to see her once a year, and it's over. And the money goes up and up and up.
Money is one reason Clive's name often comes up in these conversations. In 2001, Whitney signed a reported $100 million contract with Arista Records, the label Clive led at the time. It was widely described as one of the biggest recording deals in music history and became a major part of her career story. This agreement was reportedly put together under Clive's leadership. It worked like a large advance that had to be earned back through record sales before Whitney could receive additional royalties. That type of contract is common in the music business, but it can leave artists carrying a heavy financial burden if sales do not cover the advance. By the time Whitney died in 2012, multiple reports said her finances were in serious trouble. She was reportedly dealing with millions of dollars in debt and relied on financial assistance connected to Clive and her business arrangements. Reports said money was provided to help cover expenses such as debts tied to her home and the cost of treatment. According to industry reports, Whitney's estate also continued to have financial obligations connected to advances and other agreements involving Arista and Sony. The part that many people focus on came after her death. Sales of Whitney's music surged and generated significant income for her estate. According to reports, much of that money was used to pay outstanding financial obligations, including advances and other debts connected to her recording contracts. Some reports have claimed that those obligations continued long after her passing. One record label executive even suggested that Whitney's estate might take an extremely long time before receiving meaningful royalty payments because of those financial commitments. Critics point to situations like this as an example of how some record deals can continue benefiting companies long after an artist is gone. Michael Jackson's finances have also been widely reported as heavily in debt before his death, with reports estimating obligations of around $500 million that included major loans connected to Sony. Within 5 years of Michael Jackson's death, his estate had reportedly generated more than $800 million and later surpassed $1 billion. Much of that success came from renewed interest in his music, licensing, and previously unreleased projects. His estate and Sony were able to manage and release material under existing legal agreements after his passing. That financial reality has fueled ongoing debates about how much value an artist's catalog can create after they are gone. Because of cases like that, some critics argue that record labels and estates can sometimes earn more from an artist's legacy after their death than during difficult periods in that artist's career. That idea has led to years of speculation in high-profile cases. It is important to note, however, that speculation alone is not evidence of wrongdoing. That brings us to Whitney Houston's death and the questions that have continued to circulate about the events surrounding it. On February 11, 2012, the night before the Grammy Awards, Whitney was found unresponsive in the bathtub at the Beverly Hilton Hotel. The Los Angeles County coroner ultimately ruled that she died from accidental drowning, with heart disease and cocaine use listed as contributing factors. Even so, some observers continued to question details that became public after her death. Reports discussed marks and abrasions on her body, while forensic pathologist Cyril Wecht publicly offered an opinion that differed from the official ruling. He suggested Whitney may have been unconscious or dying before entering the water. Those comments received significant attention, but they did not change the official conclusion. Private investigator Paul Hubel also shared his own claims about the case, although those claims were never confirmed by law enforcement or accepted as official findings. Paul Hubel, a former police officer who later worked as a private investigator on several celebrity cases, publicly shared his own theory about Whitney Houston's death. He suggested she may have had an encounter with someone who supplied her with substances that night. Hubel also claimed the marks on her body looked far more serious than what he believed would be expected from an accidental drowning. He said, "Call this an accident if you want, but it doesn't make sense to me." Those statements reflected his personal opinion and were not adopted by investigators. Hubel also claimed that he had been told that security cameras at the Beverly Hilton captured two men entering Whitney's suite that night. He questioned why authorities did not pursue that lead. However, there is no public evidence confirming those claims, and law enforcement did not cite such footage as part of the official investigation. The official ruling on Whitney's death remained unchanged. Other moments from the days before Whitney's passing have also fueled years of online discussion. 2 days before Grammy weekend, Whitney briefly appeared during an interview involving Clive Davis, Brandy, and Monica, and handed Brandy a note. A video of the moment spread widely, with some viewers believing they could hear Whitney say twice, "I nearly drowned today." Others have questioned whether that interpretation is accurate, and the clip has never been treated as evidence in the official case. Clive Davis's response after learning Whitney had been found in her hotel room also became a major topic of debate. Reports said guests at his Grammy weekend party were informed that the event would continue despite the tragic news. That decision drew strong criticism from many people and remains one of the most talked about aspects of that night.
But the Grammys for the next night, you don't cancel. You turn an evening into a tribute.
That sequence of events shocked many people. Whitney died in her hotel suite, while Clive Davis's Grammy weekend event continued downstairs. News of her death spread quickly, and the decision to keep the party going sparked immediate backlash. Many people felt the celebration should have ended out of respect for Whitney and her family. Clive defended the decision by saying the gathering became a tribute to Whitney and reflected what he believed she would have wanted. However, several people who knew Whitney strongly disagreed with that explanation. Among them was Chaka Khan, one of Whitney's longtime friends, who publicly criticized Clive's choice and described the decision to continue the party as completely inappropriate.
It was a surreal event where Whitney's body was still in the hotel, and there was this sort of party where apparently half the room were in tears, the other half were kind of partying. What did you feel about that?
I thought that was complete insanity. And knowing Whitney, I don't believe that she would have said, the show must go on. She's the kind of woman that would say, stop everything. I'm I'm not going to be there.
Chaka also rejected the idea that the event served as a meaningful tribute. She argued that if the goal had truly been to honor Whitney, a more respectful response would have been to stop the celebration, offer prayers, and allow people to grieve instead of continuing the festivities.
Might have been a truer, a more honest tribute in my opinion, would have been maybe call everybody together, let's say a prayer, and let's eat dinner and go home. I couldn't get dressed. I was supposed to go to the party. I couldn't put on makeup. I couldn't get dressed. I couldn't do anything. I was paralyzed. I couldn't do anything.
The controversy surrounding that night has fueled years of discussion and speculation. Some fans have questioned why the event continued despite the tragic news and have proposed different theories about the decision. Others believe it reflected poor judgment during an emotional and chaotic situation, while some online claims have gone much further, including unsupported allegations of ritual involvement. There is no credible evidence supporting those accusations. Some people point to another detail that has remained controversial for years. Reports from the Times stated that Whitney Houston's body was not removed from her hotel room immediately after she was pronounced dead. News coverage described investigators working inside the Beverly Hilton, while Clive Davis's Grammy weekend event continued elsewhere in the hotel. Those reports have led many people to question how the situation was handled. Several news articles also reported that Whitney's body remained in her fourth-floor suite until shortly after midnight near the end of the event. However, there is no verified evidence showing that Clive Davis personally ordered authorities to delay the removal of her body. Decisions involving a death scene are generally handled by law enforcement and the coroner as part of their investigation. Another detail that has drawn attention is that Sean "Diddy" Combs spoke during the gathering. Because he had known Whitney, Clive asked him to address the crowd. Days later, Diddy appeared on the Ellen DeGeneres show and discussed the emotional experience.
I know that you were the first, one of the first ones at Clive's party to speak about Whitney's passing the other day.
Yes.
And that was, did you know her well?
Yes, I did. I actually, when I was growing up in the music industry before I had success, I somehow got on her wedding invitation. So I was at her wedding.
Some viewers later interpreted his body language as nervous or unusual, while others saw it as a natural reaction to speaking about the sudden loss of someone he knew. Body language alone cannot reliably establish what a person was thinking or feeling. That has not stopped people from asking why Diddy was chosen to speak that night. The decision has remained part of the broader public discussion, but there is no verified evidence connecting it to wrongdoing or to the many theories that have circulated online. Some people have questioned why Sean "Diddy" Combs was chosen to speak that night. Critics have pointed to past comments in which Diddy spoke about Bobby Brown and Whitney Houston's relationship, arguing that he was not especially close to Whitney. Others disagree and note that many people in the music industry knew and worked with her over the years. After Clive Davis's Grammy weekend event ended, Diddy hosted another gathering at the Playboy Mansion instead of heading home. TMZ later reported that he was hospitalized with a severe migraine after the events of that weekend. That timing led some people to criticize his decision to continue partying so soon after Whitney's death, while others viewed it as unrelated to the circumstances surrounding her passing. Those details have become part of the larger public debate about that night. Some people believe Clive Davis handled the situation poorly and question whether Whitney's interests were always a priority during her career. Others reject those conclusions and point out that criticism of someone's decisions is not the same as evidence of criminal wrongdoing. There is no verified evidence showing that Clive Davis was responsible for Whitney Houston's death. Even after all these years, the debate around Whitney Houston's final days has never completely disappeared. Every time new interviews, documentaries, or old clips resurface, people begin asking the same questions again. Supporters of the official investigation believe the case was thoroughly examined, while others continue to feel that some details were never fully explained. That difference of opinion has kept the conversation alive for more than a decade. Another reason the story continues to attract attention is because Whitney's legacy remains as powerful as ever. Her music still reaches millions of listeners around the world, and every new generation discovers the voice that made her one of the greatest singers of all time. At the same time, discussions about the pressures of the music industry, financial contracts, and the treatment of major artists continue to raise difficult questions. Whether you believe the official findings or think there are still unanswered questions, one thing is clear. Whitney Houston's impact on music is undeniable, and the circumstances surrounding her death remain one of the most discussed stories in entertainment history. The facts, the speculation, and the public reaction continue to be debated to this day. No matter where you stand on this story, it is important to separate verified facts from speculation. Whitney Houston's life and career changed music forever, and her influence is still felt across the industry today. The conversations about her career, her struggles, and the events surrounding her death continue because so many people still care about her legacy. Some questions may never have clear answers, while others have official explanations that many people accept. That is why this case continues to spark debate years later. As always, the goal is to look at the available information, consider different viewpoints, and let the audience decide what they think. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you do not miss the next deep dive. Share this video with anyone who enjoys stories about music history and entertainment mysteries. Then, head down to the comments and let us know your thoughts. Do you believe the official findings, or do you think there are still unanswered questions? We would love to hear your perspective.